Welcome to a Delco Nerd Network Hot Take. If you haven't seen a hot take before, well, it's where a few friends get in a basement, give our thoughts, give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a game, and that game is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. My name is Anthony Ragucci, and here to review AC Valhalla is the triple threat, Chris Trio.
Gooch, how are you?
Better late than never.
I mean, that's what the way I feel about these. The way I feel about these games is, I assume if you guys are watching this, you care about what we think. So we're gonna do them whenever we finish them. This one was like, it was tough. It was
very late.
It was lengthy. Really, like
One
really
thing
was like the major thing.
I've been hearing about this game is nobody's fucking finishing it.
Like it's really just like, so the idea is you travel to England and you are starting your own Viking clan there, and you're kind of basically making alliances with everyone throughout England, and that's sectioned off through sections, and just they could have cut like, I don't know, 3 or 4. Like I can't even tell you how I think there's like 20, maybe not 20, 15 to 20 main quests to go through, like main quest lines in each area to take over. But yeah, you're playing as Eivor this time around, who you can play as either male or female, which, so you can choose, and I don't know if I turned it off, but you can choose the option that allows the animus to choose for you. Like it swaps it out.
Me this.
And I picked that, and
work.
I didn't switch once. So
who were you, the guy or the girl?
I was the girl the whole time. And
I feel like the girl, this one is the better route.
But again, and it seems like she was supposed to be the one to choose, but Ubisoft are like, we don't know if we can sell an Assassin's Creed with a girl at the helm, so we're just going to make it both. Which is,
and that was the same thing with Odyssey. It's like, it really seemed like Cassandra was the better character.
Well,
than,
so, and also,
what was his name?
Alexios, I think, yeah. But dude, so I think you know about this, but for those who don't know, Anya from Origins was supposed to be the assassin you were going to play as.
Layla.
No. In the past, his wife, Bayek's wife.
Oh, Aya.
You were originally supposed to play as her through the entire campaign.
And
they were like, well, we don't know if we could sell this with a female assassin at the helm or something.
So stupid.
Which is really tough.
Like, coming from Ubisoft, that's such a weird comment.
Especially like at that time,
stupid.
Like I just don't see, like, I don't know. Maybe people would have, but maybe people would be like, I don't want to play as a girl, but I just don't think so. Like, I think playing, and it makes sense because by the end of that game, you get to just these cutscenes where you're playing as her, and she ends up being, which assassin? Isn't she like one of the main, like, she's one of the 4 in the Auditore, like.
I don't think she has a name, yeah.
No, I thought she did.
No,
it was,
yeah.
It was like
Amunet.
Amunet, yeah.
So she doesn't have like a title, is what I meant.
No, exactly, yeah, but, yeah, so that was one thing I didn't necessarily understand. Again, it's like wanting to have your cake and eat it too with them. Like, they don't want to just choose which one to go with. So, starting off, you're in Norway. You're kind of starting off with Sigurd, who is like supposed to be your brother, and not by blood, but like your soul brother, whatever. And you travel off to England to start crusade. It's your boy, and you're a Viking. And I gotta say, settings wise, this looks gorgeous. Like when you're going through vistas, when you're traveling around England, even in Norway, you're sailing on the boat with your crew, and it looks amazing. It runs awesome, especially on the Series X. I would not have recommended getting it on my Xbox One because that's where I started playing it. It just was chuggy. It absolutely, like, you could feel it. You could, when you tried to pull up the loading screen, it would take a minute or two for it to actually load. But yeah, I would definitely suggest not playing this game on anything besides the Series X. But overall, I just kind of felt a major love-hate relationship with the game, I think. Like, there were some aspects that I really liked. I liked Eivor's character a lot. I cared about her. I felt like she was, like, very well delivered and was an interesting perspective. But Vikings, there's a narrative kind of hitch for me in the way of, like, you're not an assassin this entire game.
No.
You
doesn't seem like
and I thought,
so like a Black Flag kind of thing. Where,
but
like,
even
you're
less
an assassin, but you're
like,
really not.
But even less so. Like,
okay.
So like Black Flag, I felt like you were dealing with the Assassin Order a lot, and like they were still, while you weren't part of the Assassin's Order, they were making a major impact on the game. Whereas this, you have like the Order of the Ancients still, and you have this list of targets to get through that are given to you by these 2 assassins that you meet once you get to England. Fuck, I'm forgetting their names. but they look like your more classic Altair assassins. Like they're getting to that type of style. They still call themselves hidden ones though, interestingly enough. But you're given this hit list to go through to take out, which I ended up doing. It's a lot less extensive than it was in Odyssey. You had this gigantic one in Odyssey. That was even, when I say this is big and Odyssey is twice the size, I don't think I even visited every area in that game.
That's insane. I
beat the game.
I don't understand how they made this game bigger than Odyssey when everyone...
No, I don't think they did. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put that. I think Valhalla is definitely smaller than Odyssey.
Oh.
But Odyssey just was twice as like that. I never got to areas. Like I'm saying, like.
Oh, okay.
But whereas like this was definitely more compact in that way. But like.
But this game, everyone, I feel like even more so with Valhalla. I feel like I heard everyone rant and rave about how good this game was, but fucking didn't finish it.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I guess it's like...
I guess it doesn't really matter.
I guess it does. Like, that's the but
you bought in, right?
And it kind of sucks because the ending, I think, is awesome. And I think it kind of really harkens back to the things that you were like, whoa, what? This has been missing. These kind of things that they're talking about and these things that they're exploring, I really thought was interesting by the end. But again, you're playing as Layla, who they don't really give you a core. Like, they don't give you a hook into her, really. I feel like she's like this ex-Abstergo agent who is like who is now with the Assassins, who's with Sean and Layla, who look awful. Like it's weird in the current day thing.
That's been a trend in every game.
But I thought they looked better in older games, which is so funny.
They always looked extremely different.
It's just so weird. But they don't even look like it looks like it's a different graphical engine almost. Like the character models when you're in the Animus and stuff, they look good, and like people are talking, and like I think the graphics are amazing, and but like you get out to these like weird like Layla, like her hair is long now, and it just looks like shitty old PS2 hair that like is like kinking and like is like bending in the like it just looks so bad. I'm like, what is it? I guess it's because they think you're not spending a lot of time out there or something. But yeah, you're still using that Animus that you see in Origins, where like you can just kind of connect to a dead corpse, and like it doesn't necessarily have to be your ancestor to do so. But there's some interesting ideas in the way they explore the Norse mythology. You play through the entirety of Ragnarok. Spoiler, I should say. I'm sorry. Like as like you use these. You kind of go to this shaman in your village, and she gives you these. I guess elixirs of some kind that kind of seem to push you back into, almost like the Animus did, push you back into a past life. And it seems that Odin was in fact one of Eivor's like past selves. Like, and Odin and all them are first civilization beings, obviously, and stuff like that.
Of course they are.
And that's where like.
So where did they come from?
You don't really get. They just seem to be some of the leftovers, like from like
so it seemed to be like another generation of the
Isu and stuff like that.
Of the ones who came before.
Correct.
Or, what are they called? The first civilization.
Yeah, and the first civilization.
Isu, yeah.
And like that stuff, I thought was actually pretty interesting. I got to say, I am a little tuckered out on the Nordic stuff at this point, but I will say by the end, I was more interested when they really kind of started to interconnect it with the more first civilization type stuff.
That was something that like now that we have like the MCU, Thor and Loki and God of War, and it's like, dude, Norse mythology
I felt like
is
after
so
God of War,
overdone.
The shoe dropped.
Right. I really didn't feel that way. I don't want any more Norse mythology.
I really didn't feel that way before God of War.
But then anything else.
But then I felt like after that, everyone was like, oh, Norse stuff. Like, truly. But, yeah, I'm trying to think. There's just, like, things about this game. I don't know. You're like, this one, I felt Odyssey did still feel like more Assassin's Creed-y than this one in a lot of ways. And, I mean, I don't love boss fights still. I don't think they're as prevalent. And they actually do lean heavily back into a lot more stealth mechanics in this, where you can blend and you can kind of get back on benches and things like that, and you can do things that, you know, make yourself a little bit more stealthy. And it is funny to go back from, like, I'm playing Unity again right now, too, and, like, seeing how stealth was terrible in that game. They can see you, like, if they're on the ground and they're, like, one of the sniper people, and you're on the roof, they immediately see you. And, like, I don't know if they've ever gotten really, I guess, stealth right now the more I'm going back and playing. Maybe I feel like I remember Syndicate doing it really well.
Why'd you decide to play Unity?
Because I wanted to explore France a bit. I wanted a more urban area again to kind of go through. And I hadn't played Unity in a while, and I had, like, a midway started campaign restart again. So I was like, I just went in and just started playing around and doing some stuff. And I really love the parkour up and down mechanic in that. I feel like you have a lot more control over what your character does. But in this, the quests are kind of interesting. The map itself is just, I'm looking for a more urban map again. That's really what
I don't think Assassin's Creed can thrive in an open world,
but it is.
Right, but
so,
it is.
Like, yeah, so like that's what I don't. I would like. I think you can do open world, but I would love to see something more akin to, even in Paris when I'm playing Unity, you have your very dense urban area where it's the city, and then you kind of go out into the more farmland area where it's a bit more of a dynamic kind of look. And I want to see more of that again. I want to go into a city and really kind of and fuck around and have like, I don't know, be experiencing one of these. I would love to see them go to somewhere like a, not even like super dense, but more like something like Assassin's Creed 1 did with their cities, and like maybe even like Persia, old time, like some place where we could get these cool like capital cities that we can go through and experience stuff that we just don't get in this. Like you go to England, but it's like old England. Like it's just like these dilapidated structures, and it looks like there's nothing even I'm sorry, London, I should say.
Small villages.
It's spelled London like the old way and stuff like that. And
what's London the old way?
Lundun, London. Yeah. But you see all these things, like you see aqueducts. Again, really cool imagery, but like I'm just running across fields to another thing to pick up something else, and the map's littered with things to get. So you have like these different.
It's a Ubisoft trope at this point.
But I think that's I think that's an open world trope, I guess, in general in these ways.
Right,
of like,
but Ubisoft, you got your viewpoints, you're this, you're that.
Which, truthfully, I don't think that system is terrible, but it's more of like when I light up my map and I see, like, it's just filled to the brim with all the shit. Like, it's just, so you got like, there's white dots, which are collectibles. There's blue dots, which are, those are interesting. They're like side quests that are completed right there, and they don't show up on like your quest tracking list, and you get an immediate XP. It's something, it'll be like you come upon a woman and she's like, my husband's drunk out in the woods, I need you to go find him. And it kind of actually does make you think about it more, which I appreciate it, and make you kind of think about like what's going on, and it kind of centers on you to figure it out. It's not giving you an exact place to go. It's like, he's out there, kind of more figuring it out, which I appreciate. It's kind of putting more on the player. But after a while, I was just kind of skipping them. And once I got to the certain power level that I felt like I needed, I just kept going through the campaign and just wanted to get it done. And I had a few bad glitches.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that. Just going off one of your 1 points, I feel like I'm playing Octopath Traveler, which is a JRPG. Mm-hmm. I'm like at the end of like the last ropes of the game, and I'm just going to skip through the dialogue.
Yeah, no,
because like I just want to get this done. Like I don't know how like much I care about.
Well, that's the thing for sure.
Like reading all this dialogue, and like some of it's voice, some of it's not. I'm just kind of like I've had my fill with the game. I'm kind of just like I just kind of want to get to the end and like get done.
Absolutely.
So I hate doing that, but like I get it.
And yeah, and there were certain like parts, like when you're doing main quests, you just have to go make good with this king of this area or whatever, or the earl. So you go, and I'm just kind of skipping through because I don't really care what these two people are talking about. But this game does kind of make you listen to conversations. I will give it to them in the way of like, they might say something and like, you need to know this when you're going to talk to this person. And I mean, you could save and reload this checkpoint 3 times if you want with the dialogue option, but if you fuck it up, you have to now do an extra thing on your quest or something like that. Like you have to find another way around because you didn't remember the correct whatever. And I do think the dialogue choices in this really aren't necessarily even dialogue so much as like you are making choices that are like it is, you're choosing the dialogue you are going to say in this moment, but what you say in this dialogue could affect your relationship with this person. And I did feel like those relationships were meaningful in the way of what my end game kind of ended out being. But overall, I don't know what to think of this game. Like I'm a bit befuddled. Okay. Truly. Like there are some things that I really, really enjoy. There are some things that I feel like that I'm just like, what are we doing here? And I think that there's a few tweaks that could be made. I want more assassins, especially in this one, because the way Odyssey worked for me, because that was still the assassin versus Templar plot. It's free will versus control. It's you got the order of the ancients trying to use these pieces of Eden to control all of Greece and the ancient world and stuff like that.
So
and you were working to stop
what is the main conflict of Valhalla?
The main conflict of Valhalla here is like basically you're working with Sigurd, who's like kind of having these visions of like, he seems to also be another person, another descendant of an Isu, and he's like talking. Yeah, it seems that's how I understood it by the end because he knows. So Eivor's having these visions, Sigurd's having these visions, and Sigurd's like of Ragnarok and of like basically past lives. It seems like, and like you meet this girl. I can't remember one of the targets you take out. I can't remember her name. Anyway, she's a Templar. She takes him into
like a cult.
Yeah. Well, she's in like she's basically in the Order of the Ancients, who are the Templars at this point, and she like tortures Sigurd and like takes off his arm and stuff like that. But by the end, he's not even. He's like, well, no, she did all that. Basically, what it seems like to unlock his past lives memories, and that seems to be playing like a major part in this. And even like, just saying spoilers for now because I don't want to say anything that might be too far. We already talked about Ragnarok, but he's experiencing these things from these past lives, and like you're saying, like you're experiencing these things through Odin, and you have him talking in your ear, which I didn't think necessarily was a majorly cool aspect. I didn't really like understand why he was talking to her until I guess the end. I did sort of. I guess he is just her past life because he's just trying to enter. This whole thing is him trying to enter. The whole past storyline is him trying to enter that afterlife because he knows Ragnarok is coming. And basically by the end you find out he does, but it's Ragnarok turns out to be basically an animus, an ancient animus that they have created. And like
so
it's
keeps
like
looping.
So it keeps them it's an animus in the sense of it creates a world that their mind can live in. And that they are basically living in, and this was this thing that the gods created. But I guess Odin got off it because then he created the descendant that is Eivor at some point. It sounds kind of like the hang. It seems like they're alluding to like how in like Norse mythology Odin like hangs himself from a tree for like a month to like learn death or something like that. And it seems like they are kind of alluding to that and a lot of other Norse kind of mythology. And you even see like the tree of life and stuff like that, which is the animus. And it's like it's this big ancient civilization structure. And throughout this whole time, in this past life, you are dealing with Loki a lot. And I had this spoiled for me. I didn't even Bezin, that's his name. Okay, so I was looking up the voice cast because I was curious. I'm like, this is interesting. Like, who's playing who? And I see the guy who plays Loki is playing Basim too. I'm like, it's the same fucking person. How did I not notice this? Oh my fucking god. So it ends up being that like you experience this whole thing of like Ragnarok and you see Odin basically kill Fenrir, like his dog son, and like he's basically had this entire vendetta against Odin for a millennia. And I don't necessarily know how he stayed alive. Now I do. I actually do remember. But he's had this vendetta against Odin for killing his son, and he's been trying to find the descendant of Odin, who he thinks throughout the game is Sigurd, but by the end you find out it's Eivor. And he shows up, and actually by the end, what's her name? The current day chick enters the Animus to talk with what seems like a construct of Desmond Miles. As like an A, like so it's like it seems to be when he killed himself by stopping the world, his consciousness is transferred, but he doesn't. They don't say that it's Desmond, but it's obviously what's his name playing him, Nolan North, and he sounds like, and he's like, I don't really remember how I got here, to be honest, but it's this AI that has been working through ways to stop the end of the world, because like all they did with Desmond was
at that point in time, or the end of the world,
like after that still will possibly happen, because
so 2012.
All Desmond did was when he did that was stave off, and basically this AI has been working through possibilities of futures where they end up saving it or figuring out a way to completely save the Earth from this ever happening again. And like Layla's like, and he's like, I can't find it. Like everything that branches off from our current reality, it all ends with doom. And she's like, well, go back. Well, can you look at like the possibilities of if Desmond didn't save the timeline? And he's like, oh, so then he starts looking through these possibilities of what they maybe did to save the world after it did end once. And that's kind of where, and Layla, and he's like, well, Layla, this is going to take a while. Like,
this is Desmond saying this?
Yeah. Like, and, that could take a while. She's like, well, I'm just going to hang then. So she stays in the Animus to help him do it.
I'll just stay here.
And then Loki gets out of the Animus somehow. Like he uses like, I don't even know. at the end of Valhalla.
This is crazy.
Dude, it's a bit confusing. I'm sorry if this doesn't make much sense. I'm trying to get it straight. So at the end of the past timeline, you find the Tree of Yggdrasil, which is inanimous. And Eivor gets in it, and like, because that's what basically Odin wants her to get into.
So you get in inanimous and inanimous.
Yes, correct.
So it's like Inception.
It is. So you're like, and it's like this thing. It's like, it's weird. So like,
nice.
It like clamps onto your back and like lifts you up. It's like very old. It's interesting looking. But
so you like hang.
Yeah, and you're like sitting there like a kind of a limp body, and you see like Loki's body sitting there. Or Basim, I guess, as he's known throughout the game. And yeah, he gets out and gets her staff of Hermes, which basically allows him to live.
That's from Odyssey, right?
Yes, and he goes back to the assassins. And like now he's with like, and they seem to accept it pretty quickly that he's just the Odin.
Loki.
Yeah, Loki from whatever. And so now he's working, and now he's like.
Makes sense to me.
And so he wasn't that's the other thing. He's an assassin, but they don't touch on why he's an assassin at all.
Loki.
Or like, yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
And like, and he gets out and he's like talking to the current day assassins, and he's like, "Oh, we're assassins now," like because he was back when it was hidden once, like it was still hidden.
Wait, how does he change it to assassins?
He does. So once he wakes up in the present day,
Basim,
he goes
Loki.
to see. Yes, he goes to see. What's their names? Fuck, why am I forgetting already? Sean and Layla. And they start explaining, like, because he starts explaining, he's like, "Oh, we're assassins now," and they're like, "Yeah, it comes from the because back in his time they were still known as the hidden ones." And this is, I think, takes place in like the 900s or something like that, if I remember, 800s, 900s. But yet again, like that's part when it gets to
this is crazy,
dude. If you never even play it, I'd watch that last cutscene.
Well, here,
like the last whole thing, like
I think I might. And here's the thing with that. Like I did my little video essay for getting the Odyssey. If you Google that, it's my video essay on Assassin's Creed. And like now that like I didn't play Odyssey during that, even though I kind of critiqued it, and I kind of got a little shit for it. But I'm kind of like, I don't want to play the game. I'm not saying the game's bad. I don't like what Assassin's Creed is doing.
Sure.
Odyssey and Valhalla sound like pretty good games, but there's just something in me that like, if Assassin's Creed is just gonna be this like,
it's like
open world game that I don't want, and like look how long it took you to beat. Imagine me fucking playing. It's like, well, like I won't, and now we're getting Assassin's Creed Infinity. Like what the fuck's that? Like, and now I want to even get into the series less.
Yeah, I'm still a little confused on exactly what that is going to be. I keep seeing people talking like it's going to be Fortnite but Assassin's Creed. I'm like,
the fuck does that mean?
Not, but that's not what but that's not what I got from like their press release. From what it seemed like from the press release, it seems like they have multiple teams always working on Assassin's Creed at once. And this Assassin's Creed Infinite platform would allow them to release maybe two to three games a year, some very small bite-sized experiences, maybe set in different settings and with different stories, exploring different characters, maybe within the same games. That sounds cool to me. That does. But if we're talking Fortnite but Assassin's Creed,
if we're talking about a games as a service, then I'm out. Like I told you before,
but is this games as a service technically? Odyssey or
the way
Valhalla?
They set up their cash app, yes.
Like that's what I thought, because like I mean, they're still always shortcuts. Adding in like they're still adding in content, free content all the time, and like quests, and like they did the river raids, which I heard were okay. But yeah, no, I don't know. And they're giving this game a second year of content, which has really never been done. They're supporting this for another. I'm very curious to see what the Paris expansion looks like. I'm going to get I am going to get the expansions when they go on sale. That was going to be my question. You're going to play the Wrath of the Druids. I'm going to wait until it's on. I think the season pass is on sale, but when it goes on sale, I think I'm definitely going to pick it up. Okay. I never did finish any of I didn't finish the Odyssey DLCs. And kind of going back to that, I would love to play Odyssey and Valhalla, but I won't if Assassin's Creed isn't going to get back on track to a point where I see satisfactory. I'm not just gonna play like I don't like if Infinity isn't like this. I think it's Infinite, but no, I think it's Infinity. Continue. Halo's Google it.
if whatever this new AC is going to be this like more like games as a service, like platform thing, like I don't think I want that. But maybe I'm
that is
wrong.
Infinity, yeah.
Maybe it's gonna be something I'm more in line with. But yeah, I would go back and play Odyssey and Valhalla now that I'm kind of like, okay, like I'm working towards the bigger picture, not necessarily like my issues with Odyssey, and I guess would some of those issues would probably follow into Valhalla a little bit. But like, man, like you know what I'm not looking forward to? The fucking open world, man. Like, ugh.
No, and again, like it's interesting to see, like,
especially when
their press conference was like their press release about Infinity was very interesting to me because they named all these like very single player aspects and how well they do and how much everyone really loves them, and then they're like, so now we're doing Infinity because of that. And I'm like,
neither of us can get this right.
I can't, yeah, and I'm like,
it's not that hard. We're too used to Infinite.
No, exactly, yeah. But like, so that leads me to believe that they are going to be releasing basically smaller storied experiences. Like I don't know how they go multiplayer.
So strange.
It is strange, but I think it could if it works the way I'm imagining. I think it could be very cool and awesome.
The way in which they pitched it doesn't sound interesting. The way in which the idea of we just pitch to ourselves sounds interesting, but like who knows what Ubisoft is going to finagle into making this into a cash cow.
Well, but I think it's gonna. My assumption would be it's going to be what it is now.
We'll see.
In the way of that's no, I know. I'm just like my assumption would be like you'd have these similar types of stores that they have now in these smaller experiences, or that go across all of them. But yeah, I don't know. I don't love that stuff. But again, like it doesn't. If someone wants to pay $30 or whatever to make their game go quicker, that's on them to me. Like I really,
it's just like, such a weird thing to like go into your pause menu and see that and kind of go.
I will say I don't feel like
just kind of be like, what the fuck is that?
I don't think I will give it to them. I don't find it to be incredibly blatant. Like when I open my pause screen, it's my stuff for single player. But there is a button that says at the top right corner if you want to press start, you can go to store. But I don't feel like it's like forcing me every 5 seconds to go look at the store and to go get whatever's in there. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think what else.
So what were your favorite parts of Valhalla? You kind of talked about your like overthoughts being a little bit muddled, but you didn't really talk about your big pros. So
my pros is definitely the fighting. I think the fighting is some of the best that's been in the game. I think I think some of the the raids and stuff are a lot of fun. Again, not very assassin-y. But again,
which I don't like.
But you can attack those silently and then call your people in after you've taken everyone out, which is an interesting option. I do like the more stealthy aspects that they've put back into this. You can whistle, you can blend, you can kind of do things more in more of the way that you would like to. I mean, there are definitely still boss fights and things like that, which I don't appreciate.
So compared to Origins, how much better has the combat gotten in 2 iterations?
I would say I thought Origins was also very good. So I think this is just a great fine tuning of that system that we got in there. Like, and I feel like it's tight. I'm doing what I mean to do. You definitely got to be on the offensive a little bit more. But I do enjoy it.
Yeah, like with Odyssey, like I think like when I got to the end, like when I was in the DLC, I was like, I fucking hate this combat. And it didn't hit me until later that I didn't like it.
Oh, you mean Origins?
Yeah, sorry, I mean Origins, and I was playing the DLC, and I was just like, this fucking sucks, man.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think it's like too outside of the box for like fighting styles that we get in games now.
I think it's just because it's Assassin's Creed. I have a notion on what Assassin's Creed is. I have an expectation on what Assassin's Creed is, and my expectation isn't what I got.
Yeah, I guess I just feel like in the old games,
big crux of this,
you would get like I guess combat's not that big because combat in the old games wasn't good.
No,
it was awful. It was clunky. You just wait to click B and then you click X a bunch of times. I'm noticing that even in Unity.
You counter the shit out of people.
So I don't know. I do like how much more control you have over what's going on and like what's happening with your character and how you're moving about. But I'm trying to think. The free running in this is one of my downsides in the way of like it's.
I mean, there's not many buildings, so like, what free running are you doing?
You're doing a lot of rock climbing, and I feel like they totally, playing Unity again. Tree running's been, I feel like, completely just abandoned. Like in the way of, like they'd have trees like leading like cool paths through the trees.
I remember in
and
Assassin's
things like
Creed 3 that was a big. I feel
it
like
was,
they
and
talked
even,
about that in the Frontier a lot. It's like, oh yeah, it's like the Frontier is more of an open world environment, but like you can like climb on trees and stuff.
And
like,
even like Unity, you have like trees connecting streets and stuff like they're still using. Whereas in this, there are definitely things I've noticed that have been taken out.
It's probably because like how do you do an entire open world of trees that you can go through?
No, exactly.
Seems really hard to design.
But even just yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And especially when you're getting into something as like, again, this is I don't want to say barren, but like it's a very
empty.
It's a lot of nature. You have buildings and you have these small huts, but like I don't know. It looks
which I guess
beautiful.
might be historically accurate, but not fun to play in.
No, it's not. It's just not as.
Which is why the setting. Just not it being Northology, like I'm just like that sounds so unappealing.
It's not even it's not even necessarily the Norse. It's the England. It's just like there's just not a ton going on. It's roving green hills with a tower here and there, and then a little small village. With a lot of Vikings, and then there's a few. I mean, it's not even that many. It's a lot of Englishmen, and like they're just like and the what did they call? I do love how back in the day. People just hated each other just from like it wasn't even necessarily like
I love when people hate each other.
Well, no, it was just more just like you're I don't know, a Norse, whatever. Get the fuck out of here. You're not like it's just back then. There's just any difference. They were just like the fuck away from me, you fucking pikes or whatever. Like it was
pikes.
Yeah, like there would be. I'm trying to remember the
pikes.
There was one. I think there was one. There was pikes, and then there was also the Sax people and
the Saxons,
and then. Dutch, and then I forget what they called them. It wasn't the Norse. They'd call them
Germania.
No, there was something I can't remember, but it was interesting, kind of seeing that aspect. There's some cool historical things in it, but again, I feel like
the
tackling
Goths?
The
Goths. Visigoths.
They might be in there. I don't think so.
They're Germanic.
I think this time period is cool, but I think approaching it from the Viking side is where I'm like, why did we do that? Like, why aren't you a knight? Why aren't you like a knight turned assassin or a?
Yeah, it kind of seems like a more. It makes more sense, I think, on paper. The pitch is like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
From what
like,
we know.
Again, like Vikings they're head-on people. They fight. They want the rush of the fight.
They're not doing stealth.
They're not running around the back and stabbing you.
And that was my same thing with Odyssey. It's like, why would a Spartan?
No, it's true.
Be stealth. That just doesn't. That's not what a Spartan does.
I guess for some reason that worked better for me in that, but this one did just feel like a very major, like, I don't know, just clash. And one other thing I didn't necessarily love in this was the costume design. I felt like it was very bulky, and like you kind of got. And I guess you're supposed to be in cold areas, and you're supposed to have a lot of layers. And I mean, I guess it makes sense, but some of the costumes were just kind of okay. In my opinion, like you get a few cool armor sets, and I like the way the armor and weapon system works, how you upgrade that, and like how you go to the armor smith to upgrade the visual, and that gives you more like upgrade slots, and then you use iron and like leather and all that stuff that you find throughout the world.
The base, like the base,
her base armor. It's cool. It's
no, like the base system.
Oh, it's
like that,
I think that's very classic Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
In the way of like you had Monterjoni and you're like upgrading each kind of store.
Right.
And
that's kind of a reminder.
No, that definitely is in that
when I saw it
in that skew. But yeah, the fighting's fun. Story, it has some high highs and some just mediated lows, or not even. I wouldn't even. There was never a point in this where I'm like, this is stupid and boring, and I hate what I'm doing, you know. But it wasn't. There were some points where I was just like, I'm just kind of bored. I'm gonna put this down for a couple days, and then also, a few months. And yeah, even a few months. Like, because you know why I did that? It was because I ran into that second glitch.
Yeah, which
so
we didn't talk
there
about.
was an entire section. I think it's Gloucestershire, the area that it is. Where for the quest line, they do almost like this Halloween type celebration there, and you for the quest you put on this like hood with like a skull mask that you can't take off until the quest is done. And I finished the quest, and it was still on me, and I could not get it off. And I Googled it on Reddit, and it was like, yeah, it's just a glitch until they fix it. And I was like, and luckily I was like I only had two more things. I think so. They must have because. So I was like, I had a save right at the beginning of that quest line. So I reloaded that save.
Thank God.
And I was like, I'm gonna do the other two first. So I did the other two sections that I had left, and then I went back and finished off that one. And at the end, it was still on me. But I fooled around with it and it came off this time. So I was just that just really frustrated me. Then I can't remember, there was another glitch where I lost like, I don't know if it didn't autosave for some reason, but like I went through 2 good full hardy quests and it put me all the way back just on my autosave. And I was very I mean, still, you can't beat Cyberpunk where I lost 14 hours, I think.
I remember that. That was like you were like, I was like, oh my god. That was me.
I literally finished all the side stuff in like the main area, and I was like, all right, time to do some campaign things, and the quest just wasn't appearing. Fuck glitches like that, man. They're so bad.
Yeah, they're so aggravating.
They really are.
Like, you just sit there and you're like, what the fuck?
And especially even with that hood thing, I could have just played through. But it's
right,
so
but like, that's not
breaking.
fun. That's
no,
not
it's
fun.
like, and it's just like,
it shouldn't be there.
No, it shouldn't. And I'm just like staring at this stupid skull mask the whole time that I can't take off. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think. There were some other things. So there is another Helix thing that I need to finish. There's another type of like, what was the thing in like black, like when you'd find the symbols like that were in the Animus, like that in Eagle Vision.
With the truth?
Yeah, the truth and stuff. Like, you know how they'd have... So there's this one where you are getting these Animus fragments, and it's showing you a similar type of, like, to the thing of, like, this, like, Isu vision of some kind, and I haven't finished it yet. So that's still on my list. But overall, I don't...
This game sounds like a big mixed
It's an
bag.
enigma to me.
Yeah.
Because I really had a lot of fun with it in some respects, and I really had a drag with it in others. I think it is an like these games, I will say, when it comes to bang for your buck, there is like, if you can only buy 2 games a year, this will fill your year. Like, it will.
Yeah.
And like, I guess, like,
good
to
thing
a
and a
degree,
bad thing, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's a give and a take. So I don't know what the answer is there. I think cutting off 3 of those areas really would have made a major difference. And I think a little bit more focus on the assassin stuff more than just the end things that we got that were still very exciting to me, nevertheless. But yeah, I don't know, Gooch. I would say play this. I would. I really would.
Yeah,
This is to the viewer. Gooch will play it whenever he's going to play it.
Or
but
not.
I think if you can get I think it's on sale right now too, actually. They're having big Xbox sale.
There's actually a sale on PlayStation as well.
So yeah, I mean, if you can snag it for $30, I think it's absolutely worth it. And even I was not mad at spending $60 on it either. So I will say that. And I got the free upgrade from Xbox One to Series X, which was cool. So, yeah, I think that's where I'm at Assassin's Creed-wise, Gooch. I don't know what's to come for the series. I really hope for the best. I hope it's not Fortnite Assassin's Creed. I hope it's what I'm hoping it is, and that we're going to get some cool, smaller experiences in some very diverse locations with some cool assassins that we've never seen before. But I don't know.
And maybe if Infinity is something that is up my boat, is back in line with what I think Assassin's Creed is, maybe I'll play both of these games.
We'll do
maybe
a retrospective
we'll
of
sit
something.
down
Yeah,
and talk about it.
I think that'll be a fun time.
That would be interesting. But
I think so too, Gooch.
That's not a future. It's
not a definite.
It's not a definite.
But it's a possibility. There's a variant of Gooch out there that played Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and
there's a version of me that
did
loves
it,
the new AC.
and is all about it. And I know.
But did he hate the other stuff, or did
that
he like
would be interesting? Yeah, he's like, that's what got him into it. I love it. All right, guys. Well, I think that does it for our Assassin's Creed Valhalla review. Hopefully, you played it. Let us know what you think in the comments. I'd be very curious to see where everyone else is at with this game. If you've even finished the game, it would be very interesting to see. But you can find this podcast everywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network. We are on all your favorite social media page, at Delco Nerds on basically everything. We have a Facebook page as well, and a Discord, which is a lot of fun. We don't usually talk Assassin's Creed much, but, you know, who knows? Anything can happen.
Make sure you're hitting subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a
like,
and
share,
comment.
And review is always helpful. I always forget to mention it, but that does help with us.
If you're not following on any of the podcast apps, make sure you are, even if you don't listen on them.
It's helpful.
If you have an Apple podcast, make sure you leave us a review. All that stuff
absolutely
really does help us out.
Sure.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, and then you can find you can email us delconerds@gmail.com with any comments, questions, or concerns, or even a topic idea. We love to hear from you, and we'll try to get back to you in a timely fashion. Did I already say the website?
DelcoNerdNetwork.com.
You can find all its information there. For Gooch, I have been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.
Bye.